Hey there, what I see is people letting their businesses run their lives versus them leading their business to love their life. I see this in corporate jobs, and I see where we step into expectations that other people have of us that do not honor us and allow us to lead our own life. Welcome to this episode, and I'm glad you're here to listen.
From the corners of my mind is where I find my sanity.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. My name is Debbie Heiser, and I own and operate Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser, and I want to help other people lead a lit up life. And so part of how I do that is I work with business people and entrepreneurs to really get clear on what they want and then how to get what they want. And so how I say that I do this is that I help entrepreneurs make a lot of money doing what they love without sacrificing what's important to them. I find a lot of business owners that let the business run their lives versus them being really clear on what they want in their life and allowing the business to be a conduit to help make that happen. And I've been working on providing you with a series about the universal laws. And this is a subsidiary also to the law of cause and effect, which is a few episodes back. And for those of you that weren't able to listen yet, you might want to go back and listen. It's a pretty good one, if I do say so myself. But really, the law of cause and effect says nothing happens by chance. Everything that you experience in the world is an effect of a cause that was set in motion. So for every action, there is a reaction. So when you put something into motion, you take action on something, there is an effect that happens. It just depends on what effect you want. And then those effects become causes of new effects. So once you create an effect and you're moving towards that effect, there are other causes that you put in motion that slightly change that effect as you go forward. And also then what the law of cause and effect says is that we are first cause. Everything we set in motion returns to us, which we are the causal source as the result of that. So we're going to look at today the law of compensation. And the law of compensation is pretty forthright, but yet there can be layers to it. And so when we look at the law of compensation, it basically says we are compensated. So we're talking money here, time, we're talking benefits that we get, we're talking like anything that you feel like you're being compensated for, right? Like there's compensation in, for me, having a client have this light bulb go off so that they can lean into their lit up life. That to me is a form of compensation. But in this respect today, and we'll talk maybe some about that, but we're going to focus on compensation as being the exchange of money. So we are compensated according to the need for what you do. So figuring out a need, how we show up in the world in service then is next, like our ability to do it. Now, sometimes I find that people get caught in this ability piece and get this imposter syndrome or this thing of like, I have to go out and educate myself more. I need more certifications. I need this as an excuse not to step in and be able to help serve other people with a product or service to have them have more life. And I talk about more life a lot, and we'll dig into a little bit about what that means. So we have a need for what we do, our ability to do it or provide it, and then the difficulty there is in replacing the product or the service or you as you provide it. So in order to look at this, we need to also look at potential money stories. And so this one's going to be a little bit more engaging. And if you're driving, don't stop, but go back to this. But I'd like you to take a piece of paper out, and I want you to list out what are all of the things that you have heard about money. One I used to hear, and I love saying this now, is I would hear money doesn't grow on trees. Well, if you really want to get technical about it, it does, because it's paper. Soak that in for a minute. Some other ones that I had heard was we can't afford this, or it's not okay to accept a gift of money from someone, or it's not okay to receive a gift from someone because we have the means to provide that for ourselves. Other things I heard about money is that you have to make money or you have to spend money to make money. You have to save a certain percentage of your money. Debt is bad. Like, take just a moment and list out those things, and you can push pause on the recording, but list out those things that you have heard about money. Money is the root of all evil. Money is bad. We should give away everything that we have. Like, think about all of those stories that have come into your mind. And for those of you that haven't heard previous episodes about brain science, your brain, if you think about it in a very simplistic way, now neuroscience, there's a whole lot to that, and it's emerging even more and more. But if you think really simply about the fact that we have a conscious brain, and our conscious brain can accept messages, it can reject messages, and we can create and innovate. Now, there's a whole lot more to that, but just simplistically, our subconscious brain can only accept messages. And then those messages become beliefs. The beliefs become actions. Then we take actions on our beliefs, and the actions become habits. So sometimes we have habits or actions that we are doing based on a belief that is not really true. And so once you've made this list, I want you to think about, what did your parental figures talk to you about? What did, if you were affiliated with a religious organization, schools teach us certain things, banks teach us certain things. Go off and use a credit card and it's not really money. Well, it is money, and it's at a pretty high interest rate. But a big one for me that I know I kind of let go of is that having debt is bad. Now, I'm not saying go out and spend more than you know you can bring in. And there's a piece of this too that, as an example, as a business owner, that as I think about, I need to hire someone in this position, even if I go through and do the budget, I still need to hire them on the faith that it's going to free up my time to go do my genius that will bring in more income. Did you hear me when I said that? So we have these stories, don't spend more than you make. And yes, you want to be a good steward of your finances. But the thought pattern of changing to thinking about, when I'm thinking about investing something in my business that will free up my time to do what I do best and what moves the needle in the compensation or in the financial piece, so that I can go out and make more connections. I can then go coach more people. I can spend more time on events, those things that then make an impact, but also bring in income to the company. The minute I think about that, I do crunch some numbers just to look and see what that looks like, but I have to step out in faith, and faith is stepping in with the belief that it is going to happen. It's not magic. There is work that has to be done, and it's not always hard work or struggle. We're not addicted to the struggle, but it's about looking at and knowing and having faith. For instance, I have Sarah Carlton. She was on a previous episode, and she works for me part-time and does a phenomenal job. Her title is Chief Community Builder, and she also helps do a whole lot of other things to keep me organized and managed. But I've been thinking about hiring another person to come in and be my executive administrative assistant and / personal assistant, sometimes to run some errands. And when I immediately thought of that, I've been procrastinating a little bit doing this based on fear, right? Like, I'm human too. Even though I preach these laws, I still sometimes fall into it. And so now I am looking at this, scrambling a little bit, because I'm doing, like, Sarah's plate is full and I'm doing things that someone else could do, and it's tying up my time. So I am not connecting with people as much. I'm not able to go do those things that bring income into the business. So stepping in faith in doing that, that's a story right? That we've heard, like, don't spend money unless you have it. Well, sometimes you have to step in with faith that it's going to happen, but you can't sit there then and not do any action. That's the law of cause and effect. I have to put the causes in place. I have to take the action to get the reaction or the effect that I want. So anyway, when we think about the law of compensation, all of these messages, they are tricky sometimes, right? Like that one that I just talked to you about, you may not have thought about. Another one is that debt is bad. And so I had this conversation with a client recently who was looking at needing some funding to grow her business. Well, in order to grow her business, she needed these funds to do the things needed to bring on additional people, to help more people, to be able to provide the service that she does, which is phenomenal, to more people. So she was looking at, how can I do this? I've got savings here and I've got this and this and this here. Well, thinking creatively, what about getting a small business, an SBA loan? What about getting a loan through a bank? You know, sometimes people think, oh, I'm going to go put it on a credit card. Well, okay, not bad about credit cards. That's leveraging money too. But I'm a firm believer too. Look at all of the areas that you could potentially leverage someone else's money. And what I mean by that is she's going out and getting this loan, and it's messing sometimes with our subconscious, but she's getting this loan knowing that she will be able to pay this back in half the time that the aggregate loan is, because it is going to propel her business and she'll be bringing in more money, exponentially more money than what she's bringing in today. So debt is not necessarily bad. It's about leveraging other people's money. And yes, you have to be smart about it. I'm not saying go get a gazillion loans, and you wouldn't be able to get all those, but it's about looking at it and saying, is this going to help me grow? Is this going to propel me from having a six-figure business to $1 million business? And if so, then the investment in the interest that I'm paying someone is worth the money to propel me to that level. And I'm hoping this makes sense, because when I'm talking on a podcast, I don't have people in front of me to see them nodding or understanding this. So leveraging other people's money is an example of a story, debt is bad, where really it's about leveraging other people's money. So as an example, part of our brainstorming was, do you know a list of people that you could ask to invest in your business? But if you're asking someone to invest in your business, they're not just going to give you the money. They want something in return. So are you willing to pay them a certain percentage based on how much they're loaning you? Well, it's the same thing as getting a loan with the bank. So again, look at these stories and start to unwind. What has the story been telling me? And sometimes logically we get it in our head, but then I hear people, and myself included, I hear people say the opposite of what they want to believe. And so therefore what happens is, with our money stories, we have a lot of double binds. We have a lot of loyalty packs where our parental figures told us these things about money. And so if we go out and do something different and prove that thought or that message to be wrong, then we think we've made our parental figure wrong, when in fact, that's not the case. They did the best they could with what they had, and it's just not true. We can go out and do these other things. So that's one example. So I don't want to belabor that too much, but look at that list. And here's what I would suggest. If you're confused about this one can be confusing for people. Go out to my website. It's found in the meeting notes, but it's www.leadyourlituplife, and sign up for a free clarity call with me, and let's talk about it. Because sometimes we're not even aware what that message is doing and whether it's honoring us or dishonoring us from going out to do what we want to do. So the other part of the law of compensation is it's similar to what I was talking about with the law of sacrifice in the previous one, where in order to receive more, because the law of compensation, a big piece of it is, yes, we are compensated according to the need for what we do, our ability to do it, and how difficult it is to replace us. But guess what, folks? We have to be open to receive that. I've seen before where people have this dialed in, but then they're not open to receiving it from someone. And then they'll discredit themselves and discount, 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 or like before the person even has a chance to say yes, they're switching their pricing up. And that, my friends, is an example of where you don't believe in yourself. And so, and you're not open to receiving what's coming. And this shows up in a lot of different ways. I want you to think about, when's the last time you let somebody open a door for you? Or has someone offered to help you with something and you don't allow them to help you? These are all small little things telling us whether or not we're open to receiving or not. So we have to be open to receive the compensation, the money that's coming in. But what happens too is, in order for us to receive more and be open to having more, we have to begin to draw ourselves to something larger. Like we have to become larger than what our present place allows. And how we do this is we show up 100% responsible for ourselves and 100% responsible to others. And we do that then by helping other people uncover ways that they can solve bigger problems, ways that we could be of bigger or greater service to them. We increase our capability or our ability. So for instance, I'm super excited about this. I am taking a course on the neuroscience of change and really understanding what happens to us when we're trying to change. Because as a business consultant, as a leadership coach, we're changing behaviors, we're changing thought patterns. And there is something that happens within the brain from a neuroscience perspective. And so I'm super excited to learn that. So that's an example of where I'm increasing my capability and my ability to add more value for my clients and for those that show up at my events. So I'm being of greater service and I'm increasing my capability and ability. Now be careful. Some people sit here and think they need to learn more and learn more and learn more before they can share and make that impact on the world. That's not what I'm saying. Because what happens is, when we help solve bigger problems or help other people figure out how to solve their bigger problem, and we become a greater service by increasing our capability and ability, we also do this by owning our value, owning our worth and our unique self-expression to be able to do that. One of my clients, I love it because every time I get on the phone with him and I have him introduce himself, he talks about being the owner of the best XYZ, and I'm not going to announce it because it's confidential. My clients are confidential unless they choose to speak out about it. But he sells a product and he's always like, we're the best blah 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 in the Northwest. And I love that because he's owning the value and the uniqueness of the product that they sell. And it's about stepping in and understanding that when we talk about compensation, it's also about sales. And if you own your own business, you are in sales. And we tend to have a really negative connotation about sales. And I'm going to follow up towards the end of the year with a lot more on sales here. But sales really, when you think about it, money comes from the universe, from God, through people, through money. And it's just a transaction. But what happens is we have to own that what we do is valuable. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to, if I'm working with someone, let's say even a doctor, I want to go to them knowing that they're knowledgeable, knowing that they understand that they're worth the time that I'm spending with them for my health. Pretty simple there. But sales is not about doing something to someone. We have these negative connotations about sales, and we've all been there. We've all had this bridge that's been kind of slimy, right? Like, here's where we're at. We want to go towards this product or this service. And we've all had that salesperson that's come on to us. And I've done it too. I just got called on it the other day, and I didn't even mean for it to be a hard sale. And it wasn't my intention. I was trying to make something easier, and it was interpreted that way. And I need to listen to that, right? It doesn't feel good to people. And so it happens, but you can't beat yourself up about it. But then you look at it and say, okay, how can I help bridge this person? I was speaking to someone else last night about an event and where they were at, and holding that space for them. And the event coming up in the fall is not necessarily the one for them, but that doesn't mean that next year when I hold other events that it might be for them. And so anyway, I've digressed a little bit, but when we think about compensation, it also comes in the form of sales, and sales is not doing something to someone. Sales is coming at it from a place of love. If I know that what I provide in a service allows people to step in and have more life, that then they go out and make a bigger impact and help other people have more life, that's love. So if I know that I can help someone, why wouldn't I bring it up? Now, I don't want to be that person that everybody runs from when they come up, because they know I'm going to like try to sell them on something. That's not who I want to be either. But it's when somebody says something, I'll just say, that's what I do. If you want to have a conversation, I'd be happy to do that. So think about that when it comes to the law of compensation. Do you know that what you provide in a product or a service, and I'm talking to business people in corporate, I'm talking to people with their own business, like what you do and how you show up and how you serve, do you know as a leader in an organization that you're helping other people have a better life, have more life? If you do, then that's coming from a place of love. If you don't, I invite you to work on that. Take a look at it. Figure out, am I helping people with more life? And if not, then maybe what you're doing today is not what you want to do. I had that situation happen when I worked, honestly, in the credit card industry. I don't necessarily agree with some of the things that happen in the credit card industry. And so it wasn't really congruent with who I was. So anyway, on that note, we have to be open to receive. We have to take a look at is what we're doing in the world showing up to provide more life. And if it is, then we should be offering it up to someone. And it's about that need, our ability to do it, and the difficulty there is in replacing ourselves. And so this one is really meaty. And later in the year, I'll have a few other segments about sales and some of the stories we have around that. But take a look at your money stories. What are those things that you've been told that you potentially want to change? And if you do want to change those and you want to get really clear about those, take a look and sign up for a clarity call. I'd love to chat with you. And with that, everyone have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
See the